When you constantly pour yourself into something that doesn't pour back into you, you slowly lose the essence of who you are. It begins subtly, a few extra calls, a few more texts, the constant checking of your phone, hoping for a message that validates your worth. You start adjusting your life to fit into someone else's, and before you know it, you've built a world that revolves around another person's attention. But here's the truth most people don't realize until they're drained. Chasing never fills the void, it deepens it. When you give endlessly to someone or something that doesn't reciprocate, you are sending a message to the universe that you are willing to accept less than what you deserve. Your energy is sacred. Every time you choose to chase, you are handing over the keys to your peace. You begin to measure your value by how someone else responds, instead of recognizing that your worth was never tied to their validation. Real love doesn't require pursuit, it recognizes and responds naturally. What is meant for you won't need to be forced. It won't make you question your place. It won't make you feel like you are constantly trying to prove that you are enough. You have to reclaim your energy, and that begins with awareness. Ask yourself, why am I chasing? What am I trying to prove? What am I afraid of losing? Most of the time, it's not the person you're afraid to lose. It's the story you built around them. You've convinced yourself that your happiness is connected to them, but it's not. Your happiness is connected to your alignment, your peace, your confidence, your purpose. The moment you stop giving to people who take without giving back, you begin to rise. You must learn to pour into what also pours into you. That is how balance, respect, and love grow. When you start choosing yourself, you send out a new energy, one that says, I am not desperate, I am deserving, and that shift changes everything. You'll begin to notice how the same people who ignored your worth will start to notice your absence. The same situations that once drained you will lose their hold. You reclaim your energy not by fighting for attention, but by understanding that attention from the wrong place is not a reward, it's a distraction. Stop trying to convince someone to see your value. That's not love, that's negotiation. You cannot negotiate your worth with someone who doesn't know how to value themselves. When you give from abundance, not desperation. If you are chasing because you fear being alone, understand this. Solitude is not punishment, it is preparation. It's where you reconnect with your essence, rebuild your boundaries, and remind yourself of who you were before you started running after someone else's approval. You deserve love that flows freely, not love that you have to chase. When you chase, you are operating from a mindset of lack, a belief that what you want is scarce, that if you stop running, you'll lose it forever. But when you stand still in your confidence, when you trust that what's meant for you will recognize you, something magical happens. You stop feeling anxious, you stop questioning, you stop begging, you begin to radiate peace, and peace is magnetic. Reclaiming your energy also means setting boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates of self-respect. They tell others how to treat you, and they remind you of what you will and will not allow. When you stop pouring into empty cups, you make space for what is full, full of love, full of respect, full of reciprocity. You begin to attract people and opportunities that reflect the energy you've chosen to keep. So, take your energy back. Every time you feel the urge to chase, pause, breathe, remind yourself that you are the prize, not the pursuer. You don't chase, you attract. You don't beg, you choose. The moment you start operating from that mindset, everything around you begins to shift. You'll notice your peace returning, your confidence glowing, and your power restoring. The right connections will never require you to shrink yourself. Remember, you were never meant to be exhausted by love. You were meant to be elevated by it. And that begins the moment you decide that your energy, your time, and your heart are too precious to be poured into places that can't hold them. Reclaim your energy, reclaim your worth, because when you stop chasing, you stop losing yourself, and that's when the world begins to chase your light. Silence is one of the most powerful languages you can ever speak. It carries a weight that words often fail to express. When you stop chasing, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop trying to convince someone to see your value, your silence begins to speak volumes. It tells a story of strength, of self-respect, and of confidence. There is something magnetic about a person who doesn't beg to be understood. Silence shows control. It shows that you have mastered the art of emotional discipline. It's not about playing games. It's about knowing that your presence already speaks louder than any argument ever could. When you learn to embrace silence, you also learn to embrace peace. You begin to realize that constant communication does not equal connection. Sometimes people use noise to hide their uncertainty, to keep you entangled in confusion, but silence cuts through that fog. It creates space for truth to reveal itself, for feelings to settle, and for energy to shift. The moment you stop reaching out, you allow the universe to show you who truly values you. Those who care will notice your absence. Those who don't will be comfortable in your silence. That truth may hurt at first, but it's one of the most liberating revelations you'll ever experience. There's power in restraint. When you pull back, it's not about punishment, it's about self-preservation. It's about choosing to protect your peace instead of proving your point. You don't need to fight for attention or force understanding. The ones meant to be in your life will always recognize your value without reminders. When you stay silent, you give others the chance to come forward, to take initiative, to show effort. And if they don't, your silence becomes your answer, clear, simple, and undeniable. Your silence also teaches people how to treat you. It says, I don't need to raise my voice to be heard. I don't need to chase to be chosen. You stop giving your power away to conversations that go nowhere. You stop pouring energy into situations that drain you. Instead, you learn to observe. You begin to see patterns clearly: who shows up, who disappears, who values your peace, and who disturbs it. Silence gives you perspective. It helps you see beyond emotions and into truth. In a world where everyone is trying to talk louder, post more, prove more, silence becomes your superpower. It is rare, and what is rare becomes valuable. When you pull back, people begin to wonder. They start to question what changed. They feel the emptiness that your presence used to fill, and in that space they realize your worth not because you begged them to, but because they experienced your absence. Sometimes silence isn't about walking away. It's about standing still and allowing others to meet you halfway. It's important to understand that silence doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've reached a level of emotional maturity where you no longer need chaos to feel alive. You've learned that peace is more powerful than attention. When you stop chasing, your energy shifts from seeking validation to radiating confidence. That energy draws in what is meant for you effortlessly. You no longer have to force conversations or explain your worth. It becomes self-evident. Silence gives you back control. It allows you to reclaim the narrative. Instead of reacting, you choose to respond, or sometimes not respond at all. And that choice holds power because silence makes people reflect. It creates curiosity. It makes them realize that your energy, once freely given, is no longer available on demand. And that realization often speaks louder than any message you could have sent. When you allow your silence to speak, you also allow your intuition to guide you. You begin to sense what feels right and what doesn't. You no longer ignore red flags just to keep a connection alive. You learn that silence is not the absence of communication. It's the presence of self-awareness. It's a declaration that says, I am choosing myself, I am protecting my peace, I am prioritizing my worth. The beauty of silence is that it shifts the dynamic. It transforms you from the pursuer to the desired. It changes the energy of every relationship and interaction you have. Because the moment you stop chasing, you start radiating, you start moving differently, calm, confident, collected. People feel that. They sense your peace, your detachment, your groundedness, and in that stillness you become magnetic. So let your silence do the talking. Let your absence make a statement that your presence once couldn't. You don't need to explain your worth. It's already written in the way you carry yourself. The more you embrace stillness, the more power you reclaim. Because silence doesn't just protect your peace, it amplifies your value. And when you master the art of saying nothing, you often end up saying everything that needs to be heard. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that she has been searching for validation in all the wrong places. She has looked for approval in someone else's eyes, waited for acknowledgement from people who barely understood her worth, and measured her value by how much attention she received. But the truth is, you were never meant to be the one proving your value. You were always the prize. You were always the gift. The tragedy is that the world taught you to forget that. From childhood, you were told to be agreeable, to chase affection, to work harder for love that should have come naturally. But when you finally wake up to who you are, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop begging for space and start walking in power. Redefining your worth means unlearning every lie that made you believe you had to earn love. You don't have to prove that you're enough. You don't have to chase anyone to make them see your light, your existence, your kindness, your heart. They are already proof of your value. When you know that, you move differently. You no longer overextend yourself just to be noticed. You stop explaining why you deserve respect. You stop waiting for someone to see what you already know. You become grounded in the quiet truth that you are complete, even when you stand alone. When you know you are the prize, your energy changes. You stop settling for almost love, for half efforts, for empty promises. You begin to set standards that reflect your growth. You realize that love should not make you anxious. It should make you peaceful. It should not confuse you. It should comfort you. Knowing your worth means walking away from anything that disturbs your peace, no matter how much you wanted it to work. Because nothing and no one is worth losing yourself over, the world will always test you. It will send you moments designed to make you doubt your value, unanswered calls, mixed signals, inconsistent energy. But every time you feel that doubt rising, remind yourself that your worth doesn't fluctuate based on how others treat you. Their ability to recognize your value doesn't define it. Some people simply don't have the capacity to appreciate what you bring to the table, and that's okay. That's not rejection, that's redirection. It's the universe protecting you from situations that would have kept you small. Knowing your worth also means embracing solitude without fear. You stop confusing loneliness with lack. You start seeing alone time as a sacred space where you grow, heal, and realign. It's where you remember that your life is not on pause waiting for someone to choose you. You were chosen long before, chosen to walk in purpose, to embody peace, to live with intention. When you operate from that mindset, your energy becomes unshakable. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg for love, you become love itself. When you view yourself as the prize, you also start valuing your time and energy differently. You no longer overinvest in places that show no return. You become selective not because you are arrogant, but because you are aware. You understand that your peace is expensive and not everyone can afford it. You begin to invest your time where you are valued, your emotions where they are respected, and your energy where it multiplies. Redefining your worth isn't about becoming hard or distant. It's about becoming wise. It's about realizing that your softness is a gift, but it must be shared with discernment. You no longer pour endlessly into people who take without giving back. You no longer explain your boundaries to those who keep crossing them. You stop auditioning for a role in someone's life and start living fully in your own. The moment you start seeing yourself as the prize, everything around you begins to shift. People treat you differently because you treat yourself differently. You no longer seek external validation because you've found internal peace. You dress differently, speak differently, and carry yourself with quiet confidence. You stop rushing the process because you trust the timing of your life. You stop fearing rejection because you know rejection only removes what wasn't aligned with your value. You are not here to chase, to beg, or to prove. You are here to embody, to stand tall in the truth that you are enough, to walk in grace knowing that what is meant for you will never have to be forced. When you truly understand that you are the prize, desperation leaves your spirit. You stop trying to convince and start allowing. You stop demanding and start deserving. You begin to radiate a calm energy that draws in the right kind of attention, not because you need it, but because your peace naturally commands it. So redefine your worth. Stop seeing yourself through the lens of those who failed to see your value. Stand firm in your own light. The prize never chases. It is recognized, pursued, and cherished. You are that prize. You always have been. It's time to start living like it. There is a distinct shift that happens in your life when you move from seeking to being. When you stop searching for validation outside yourself and start embodying everything you've been chasing, you become magnetic. The energy around you changes. You begin to glow differently, not because you've acquired something new, but because you've remembered who you are. True confidence isn't loud, it's calm. It's that quiet knowing that you don't have to chase what's already yours. It's the grace of understanding that attraction flows naturally from alignment, not effort. When you operate from a place of being, you stop trying to convince anyone of your value. You stop begging to be chosen because you understand that you were already chosen. Chosen to be enough, chosen to walk with dignity, chosen to experience love without losing yourself. Feminine confidence isn't about control or dominance, it's about ease. It's about walking into a room and knowing that your energy speaks before you ever do. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, about letting your softness and strength coexist without apology. So many women exhaust themselves trying to be seen, trying to prove they're worthy of love, of attention, of respect. But when you truly embody confidence, you stop performing, you stop over-explaining, you stop chasing approval. Instead, you begin to live in a flow state where your peace, your purpose, and your presence do the attracting for you. You no longer need to seek validation because you've found it within. That is where your real power lies. Confidence isn't built in one moment. It's cultivated through many moments of choosing yourself. Every time you say no to what doesn't serve you, you strengthen your sense of self. Every time you set a boundary, you affirm your worth. Every time you choose silence over reaction, peace over chaos, stillness over chasing, you reinforce your power. You start realizing that your value doesn't increase because someone finally notices it. It remains constant whether anyone sees it or not. When you embody feminine confidence, you attract differently. Opportunities flow toward you. People respect your energy. Your calmness becomes a magnet because it signals that you are not desperate. You are discerning. You understand that what's truly meant for you doesn't need to be forced. It flows. You don't have to prove you're special. Your presence already says it. And that's the essence of power, not in doing more, but in being more aligned, more grounded, more yourself. It's important to realize that being confident doesn't mean being emotionless. It means knowing that your emotions don't control you. You can feel deeply, but you don't let those feelings drag you into desperation. You can care, but still choose peace. You can love, but still let go when something is not for you. That balance between love and self-respect is what creates magnetic energy. It's what separates someone who chases from someone who attracts. To embody this confidence, you must first trust yourself. You must trust that the decisions you make, the boundaries you set, and the energy you keep will lead you exactly where you need to go. You no longer second. guess your worth. You no longer shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You stand tall in your truth, knowing that your energy is valuable, and not everyone deserves access to it. This trust becomes your foundation, and it's from that foundation that attraction naturally happens. When you move from seeking to being, you realize that peace is the new power. You stop reacting to everything. You stop fighting to be understood. You start radiating an energy that says, I'm good, whether you stay or go. And ironically, that's what draws the right energy to you. People are drawn to peace. They are drawn to confidence that doesn't scream, but whispers with certainty. They are drawn to someone who is so secure within themselves that nothing external can shake them. You begin to see that what you've been chasing all along, love, validation, attention, was never outside of you. It was always something you were meant to embody. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. So if you want peace, be peace. If you want love, be love. If you want loyalty, embody it. The energy you carry becomes the signal that the universe responds to. When you shift from chasing to radiating, from needing to knowing, from effort to embodiment, you become unstoppable. So, take a deep breath and remember this truth. You don't have to run after anything. What's meant for you is already finding its way. All you need to do is stand in alignment with it. Keep nurturing your peace, keep honoring your boundaries, keep showing up as your best self, and the right things will align effortlessly. Because when you embody confidence, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop proving and start becoming. And that's when the world begins to move in your favor, not because you forced it, but because you finally learned to be. There is a deep freedom that comes when you finally learn to let go. Letting go doesn't mean giving up, and it doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop controlling. It means you release the illusion that you can make everything happen on your timeline or bend situations to your will. It's trusting that life knows what it's doing, even when you don't understand it yet. When you stop clinging, you start flowing. When you stop forcing, you allow space for the things that are truly meant for you to find their way. There is a certain peace that comes when you accept that what is meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never meant for you. It's one of the hardest lessons to learn, because as humans, we crave certainty. We want to know why something ended, why someone walked away, why things didn't work out the way we hoped. But in your attempts to make sense of everything, you often block the blessings that are waiting to enter. When you release your grip, you create room for divine alignment. You give the universe permission to move in ways you can't yet see. Letting go is not about detachment from love or people. It's about detachment from control. It's learning to say, I have done my part. Now I surrender the outcome. That's not weakness, that's wisdom, because there's only so much energy you can spend trying to fix what wasn't built on mutual effort. There's only so much chasing, explaining, and waiting you can do before it starts costing your peace. And nothing, absolutely nothing, is worth your peace. Trust the flow of life. Everything you have lost has made space for something greater. Every disappointment was a redirection. Every ending was the universe saying, this chapter has served its purpose. Sometimes what feels like rejection is actually protection. You were not meant to force your way into alignment. You were meant to flow into it. When you trust that, you stop trying to control the process and start embracing the journey. The truth is, you attract best when you are relaxed. You draw in the right people, opportunities, and experiences when you are not tense, not fearful, not desperate, but calm, open, and grounded. When you let go of the need to make something happen, you send a clear signal that you are ready to receive what's truly yours. It's a quiet but powerful shift in energy, from grasping to allowing, from worry to faith. Letting go also means releasing old versions of yourself. The one who tolerated too much, the one who settled, the one who didn't believe she was enough unless she was chosen. That version of you was doing her best with what she knew. but now you know better. You've seen the cost of holding on to what hurts. You've learned that peace feels better than control. It's time to step into the version of yourself that flows, the one who doesn't chase but aligns, who doesn't panic but trusts, who doesn't wait for validation but walks with quiet assurance. When you learn to let go, life begins to move more smoothly. The right connections come naturally, the wrong ones fall away effortlessly. You no longer waste energy fighting for things that don't fit. You stop trying to rewrite stories that were never meant to last. You realize that what's meant for you won't need convincing. It will simply recognize you. It will come with peace, not confusion. It will stay without you having to chase it. Letting go is also an act of faith. It's saying, even if I can't see the outcome, I trust the process. It's believing that the universe, or God, or whatever name you give to divine order, knows the route better than you do. When you cling tightly to what's fading, you block your own blessings, but when you release with grace, you make space for what's aligned. That's the paradox of life. The more you let go, the more you receive. This is not easy. It takes courage to loosen your grip, especially when your heart is still attached. But healing happens in surrender. Growth happens in stillness. You start to understand that your job is not to chase love, but to embody it, not to control timing, but to trust it. The universe always rewards the one who lets go with faith instead of fear. So breathe, release the tension, the overthinking, the need to know how it all ends. You are not losing control, you are gaining peace. The flow of life will never lead you where you don't belong. Every door that closes is redirecting you to something greater, something more aligned with who you are becoming. When you let go, you return to your natural state, ease, grace, and abundance. Letting go doesn't mean the story is over. It means a new chapter is ready to begin. One that doesn't require you to chase, but invites you to receive. One where love feels safe, peace feels natural, and you feel whole. So trust the process. Let go of what no longer fits and make room for what's meant for you. Because when you stop chasing and start flowing, everything that truly belongs to you will find its way, not by force, but by faith.